Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, or Tank12, however you want to call me, I don't really care. And it's the 10th of December, it's 8 p.m. right now, and I've decided to start Wolf Tanks. Completely missed the deal that they had today, and I checked back and I saw what tank they are selling right now, and they are selling an old classic vehicle that used to be a tier 9 vehicle in this game. And of course you guys know I'm talking about the Lorraine 40 ton. This tier 8 French medium premium tank used to be the very much disliked tier 9 French medium tank. A lot of people absolutely hated this vehicle, but there were some people who really enjoyed it at the same time, you know. And I have to say, I myself have been one of the people who probably have disliked it so much that I actually skipped the entire thing to just go to the Batchat 25T. Still one of my favorite French tanks in the game. So what does this tank warrant to? Why do I have it in my garage then? Well, just to make it clear, I did not pick it up today. I picked it up when it was released back in the days. And I actually do enjoy what they have done with this tank at tier 8. Because at tier 9, this vehicle was kind of trash. At tier 8, on the other hand, it does seem to fit right in. So, to make it more clear for you guys, this vehicle has underwent quite a few changes in the statistics. The changes do not affect the gun or mobility, but they do affect the HP and I think also some of the track traverse. This tank had more HP back in the days, but other than that, it was almost identical to the tier 9 version. That was kind of the problem. Not enough, you know, power on this vehicle to face other tier 9 tanks, especially if you considered like the T54 or the E50 and the M46. Tanks that at tier 9 have legendary status, people love them. And then you had the Lorraine 40 ton, the vehicle you just wanted to get past to get to the Amex Batchat, to the TheFrXion 25 ton. Now obviously that made this tank kind of unpopular in the public server, and yeah, I think it has changed quite a lot. It's a nice tank, lost a bit of its HP, but other than that, it has kept most of its other statistics, you know, as it was before in the tier 9 state. And that really makes a change. One tier difference is a big difference for this vehicle, and being a premium vehicle, it is actually quite nice. So, the very first thing, as always, that we do in these videos is that we are taking a look at this tank. And you can notice that there is a different kind of camo pattern on this vehicle. That is because this tank was released with a different kind of camouflage that you could put on. Camouflage that is unique to this vehicle. And you might definitely say that, well, that is not a market practice I want to support, because, you know, I want to have like different choice of getting all the paint on different tanks, you know, getting camouflage on all the vehicles. And I can totally understand that viewpoint. It was definitely not the selling point for me to get this vehicle. The camouflage did not really like render me to the conclusion that I need to get this tank. It was much more, I wanted to get the Lorraine 40 ton back and see how well it would fare at tier 8, since I knew the tank at tier 9 was absolute garbage. And I was pleasantly surprised. So as always, we're going to go over the different statistics first, and we can actually compare this tank to the Batchat 25 TAP, the tier 9 vehicle that replaced this tank, I think about one and a half years ago, if I'm not mistaken. It has been quite a while. They have added quite a few tanks. We're going to upgrade this vehicle to the max base, and then we can see how well they actually do work. And you can see, obviously, this is a tier 9 tank that we're comparing to a tier 8 tank. And I'm not even really sure what the tier 8 version is. The tier 8 version is the... Let me check that out real fast. I just completely forgot what the French tier 8 medium tank was. That is like kind of weird right now. What? It's just a... Wait, how do you get to the batch at 25T again? Oh, yeah, okay, they changed it so that you have to go through the batch at 12T. Just before, the AMX 1390 was the tier 8 version. Then you had to go on to the AMX, or to the Lorraine 40T, and they changed it over to the batch at 12T. So yeah, I don't have the batch at 12T anymore. I did own it. I did get it because I had the 1390 in my garage. Not very much looking forward to get this tank, but I would have to get it to be able to unlock the AMX 30 prototype. But yeah, doesn't really matter. So we're going to be comparing these two vehicles right now. The 25T, obviously it's a tier 9 versus a tier 8, but still they have very similar characteristics. And what you can see is that the damage and the penetration is practically the same. And that has to do because both vehicles are running the same caliber gun. I'm not sure if they're running the same gun, but they are very, very similar. They're almost identical. The only difference that you have right here with these two tanks is that the Lorraine 40T has worse rate of fire, so you're going to have less DPM with this tank, but you're having a better turret traverse speed with 39.25 degrees per second and a gun depression of -8 degrees and gun elevation of 15 degrees. So that's pretty damn good. My aim time is better, but that has mainly to do with the fact that I only have 4 shells, as the one clip on the batch at 25T AP has 6 shells. And that used to be the same norm for the Lorraine 40T, 6 shells instead of the 4 shells. So they reduced the shells in a magazine, of course, to make it less competitive in tier 8. That's like, just imagine 6 shells in a tier 8 tank with a 40-second reload time with 232 millimeters of pen. You would be able to one-shot, to one-clip several tanks if you're playing against tier 6 vehicles. Just imagine that. Would be pretty crazy. Aim time is better. That is mainly because I do own this vehicle. I don't own the batch at 25T AP. And the dispersion is also better, or exactly the same, excuse me, with 0.35. Accuracy-wise, not the worst, but also not the best vehicle. Now, obviously, you see the backdrop of HP. This vehicle used to have something along the lines of 1,006 or 500 or 700. I'm not entirely sure anymore. Completely forgot about that. And obviously, you're going to have more HP on the batch at 25T AP. But you do have some additional frontal armor and side armor and rear armor, but nothing to write home about. 40 and 30 and 25. Same on the turret, so you're going to get HE a lot by other vehicles. Mobility-wise, this tank is very, very competitive. It does have a much better engine than the batch at 25T, but it also weighs a lot more. So you have a lot more weight, you have a better engine, but it does not allow you to go faster than the batch at 25T because the vehicle weighs less. So 60 kilometers forward, fairly competitive in that mobility range, also with the 41.4 degrees of traverse speed. And yeah, it's fairly competitive. These statistics are very similar. You can see that this tank used to be a tier 9 tank and now has turned into a tier 8 premium. So these statistics, well, they do seem kind of competitive at tier 8, especially since they were, well, just mediocre at tier 9. They must be good at tier 8, and that certainly is the point. If you know how to play this tank, if you knew how to play the French medium tanks back then, you'll know how to play this tank now. So that means it is a very dangerous machine in capable hands. Actually, I haven't unlocked the batch at 25T AP. Actually, I've unlocked it, but I've never bought it because I sold my Lorraine way back when I unlocked the batch at 25T. So the only real way we can see how this tank does put those statistics into place is by going into battle, and that is exactly what we're going to do. Prepared for you guys. Today is a tier 8 match, since you'll be finding yourself in those quite a lot in the Lorraine 40 ton, and we're playing on the map Paris. As you can see, it's quite the nice mix of tier 6, tier 7 and tier 8 vehicles. And this is, I think, this game is a nice representation of this vehicle because it shows you the ups and downs that you're having in very, very quick succession. You can be on top of the world with this tank, and in another second you can be crashing down with the burning tank and everything is going to hell just because this tank is so really it's so vulnerable in certain situations. And the very first thing I like to do, which is quite dangerous on this map, is that I like to go to the middle area and snipe the tanks that are actually crossing over to get to the K5 and K6 position. Because the field for me is too open. I need some cover. You know, my tank is fast enough. 60 kilometers going forward and all that stuff allows you to be very, very mobile. And what you can see right there is the reload time. Well, actually, we have a reload time of about 33 seconds. That is actually quite a lot, right? Especially if we compare that to other vehicles that at tier 8, you know, have an autoloader and have like 20-something seconds reload time. But it has to do with the caliber of this gun. It's 100mm with a 232mm of penetration. Keep that in mind. 232mm, that is the level of some tier 9 vehicles in stock. And that's exactly what this tank is all about. You have that crazy pen at tier 8 that allows you to, you know, very, very efficiently penetrate those tier 6 and tier 7 and tier 8 tanks. And you can even do very well against tier 9 and tier 10 vehicles with this tank. Now, I do have some APCR loaded, but you most of the time won't need APCR, because if you're facing tier 10 tanks and they catch you out in the open, you know, and you're engaging them frontally, you're going to have a bad time. It's going to be your downfall. And what you can see right here is me doing something stupid. This tank does not have a lot of armor. You should not engage a vehicle front on, you know, all by yourself. But, you know, the gun is kind of the backbone of this tank. It's what this vehicle is all about. It's pretty much just a gun carriage that is based around the gun that can do that can inflict massive amounts of damage. But, you know, stay mobile enough to be in the right spots where you need to be. And the pauses that you can see right there are mainly because I was watching a football match, FC Barcelona against Villarreal, and that is why I had to tab out sometimes. But what I decide right here is kind of a cocky play. You can see we are a few tanks ahead, and I think it's a great idea to push around this corner and go engage these guys over here, you know, flank them. What I noticed is that they have been kind of waiting for me in this ambush position since the start, and now I'm kind of panicking. That's what you'll be doing in this tank quite a lot, especially if you notice, oh, someone is chasing you, your support is not there, you are going to get outmatched. And I can, you know, this is where I was speculating. I know I have enough HP to take a shot by the T28 prototype, but it's going to get a lot worse. There's a T34/3 waiting for me, and there's an IS-3 waiting for me. That is exactly the thing that you don't want to happen in this vehicle. You don't want to be caught out in the open. You do not want to be the main attention of everyone, because they certainly know you can be a big threat to them. That is why they're going to be aiming for you, and artillery will be aiming for you as well, because you are a big soft target. You know, those nice one-shot kills that Artie has been dreaming ever since they reduced the pen on those guns. Thankfully they did, because I had quite a few games where I was able to run around, take a hit in a lightly armored vehicle by an artillery and not get penetrated. So at least that frost factor is gone by at least a big margin or big portion. So we survived, but just barely, and with a lot of luck, and that is exactly what you will be needing sometimes in this vehicle. It's not just your tactical, knowledge, it's not your map awareness, it's not your skill. Sometimes it's just bare bones luck that allows you to have really, really good games. But that's just pretty much World of Tanks for you. It's RNG based video game, and that is what you have to keep in mind. So what we can do right here, what are the strong points of this tank, is the gun. It's 232 millimeters of penetration, and you can just see how we're going to town on this IS-3 and the T-28 prototype. And in just a very small fraction of a moment, we would tear down both of these tanks to a very, very low amount of HP. 2,821 damage dealt, 89 spotting damage, but that doesn't really count that as much. So this tank certainly does have its charm. It does have its, charisma that people love about it, because it's just this powerful kind of vehicle when you get to the right position, when you have the right timing, all of those things combined. But when you're all by yourself, and you're fighting tanks that are maybe a tier higher than you, and you just have like a bad day, you are going to get wrecked so hard in this vehicle because it doesn't sport any armor. And that is what I've noticed. I played a few games, I had a few very good games, but once my team kind of went south, it was over very quickly. And that is what you'll be seeing in this tank a lot. You'll be seeing a lot of good, but you'll be seeing a lot of extremely bad as well. There's almost no mediocre to this tank. It's just either you're super great, you have a super great game where you can manage to do a lot of damage, you have enough time to reload, or you're gonna have a really bad game where they catch you off guard somewhere where you are kind of, just clipping, where you're reloading, artillery strikes you like 4 times, you get like just aimed down by 4 tanks, and nothing is going to bounce you. Pretty much nothing, because your tank is so weakly armored. That means you have to stay kind of hidden. You have to be a little bit of a second line tank, not the first line. But that is difficult for a lot of people. Patience is a must with this tank. If you don't have the right timing, if you don't have the right patience, you are going to be having a bad time a lot of games. A lot of times you'll be wishing that you never bought this tank. So yeah, let's jump over to the bundles and see what this tank is all about and how much you'll have to pay for it, and if it is worth your hard-earned money.